to
This
it.
conference will now be recorded.
Hey, everybody. Yes, sorry, I had an itch underneath the headphones. Isn't that lovely? This is Tammy with the Safe Space podcast. And we've been talking a lot about money lately, not because the podcast is focused solely on money, but because that's a concern of everybody now. I mean, you just look around and everyone's concerned about inflation and debt and all sorts of things because of what's going on in our world. So I was so happy that I was able to get a hold of my guest today, Christine Luken. You can see her up there on my screen. She's empowering those high earning professionals to master their money. But when we say high earning, okay, she doesn't turn away your average common ordinary woman that needs some good financial advice. So I want to welcome Christine Luken. Are you still calling yourself the lifeguard, the finance? What are you calling
I
yourself
am
these days?
not. I am known as the financial dignity coach. So I was
Dignity.
able to get the trademark for financial dignity, and so I am owning that 100% in my branding, in my courses, in my books. I just think it encapsulates my philosophy and what I'm trying to get my clients, my readers, my customers to have this feeling that they really do have dignity around their personal finances, and it's not causing them anxiety or shame and embarrassment.
So, so tell us a little bit about you and your evolution into this dignity thing. That sounds almost like something associated with a funeral home. I mean, I'm sorry, death, dignity and death, dignity and death, and that
No,
sort of thing.
no, not at all. I mean, when
All
you
right.
think about, people just want to feel dignified when it comes to their finances, but there's all this emotion, and that's really what I'm all about is um, helping my clients to master their emotions when it comes to money. And part of what I do is also educate other financial professionals about mindset, about the emotional side of personal finance and how it affects behavior. Because telling our clients to leave emotions out of the financial decision making process is futile,
It's not going to
because
happen. Not going to
right,
happen.
we're emotional creatures, and science has discovered that the moment of decision actually happens in the part of our brain that processes emotion. So it really is important that we bring together both the logical and the emotional. And my whole goal is to educate people on, you know, how can we have emotional intelligence around our finances? And I think once we can understand why people do what they do with their money as professionals, we can help serve them better rather than help them feel shame or embarrassment around the mistakes that they've gotten themselves into, right? They already feel bad. So we don't need to be adding this other layer of, kind of shame on you for getting into this mess,
Right.
right?
You don't want to beat people down. And I'm at the risk of not naming a name here, but there's a certain high profile financial entertainer that seems to enjoy just kicking people when they're down and chastising them for their debts and all the other things. But even though
Yeah,
you focus a lot on women, but these emotions are not unique to women. I think
absolutely not.
men make a lot of emotional money decisions as well.
Yeah. Well, we all do. We all do. Now, whether they're based out of good emotions or negative emotions is another thing. But the truth of the matter is, our emotions do affect our behavior with our finances, and the more we can understand that, then it helps us to be more empowered versus being at the mercy of our emotions. And you're right. I do focus. I do focus on women, especially women who are going through divorce, because I have seen that divorce is a very highly charged situation, right? And there's a lot of very important financial decisions that have to be made during and after the divorce process. And so I find that it's a time when really, really harmful financial decisions can be made if we don't learn how to harness the power of our emotions and to control our emotions and not let them get the best of us. And so that was the reason why I was so passionate about writing my third book, Financial Dignity After Divorce, um, because I really wanted women to feel empowered to be able to take control of their finances rather than to be controlled about, relative to the anxiety of their finances as they go through divorce. Because as you know, no one wins financially when you go through a divorce, right? I mean, it's just simple math, right? We divide all the assets and then now you have two households, so we're multiplying expenses. And so we do have to be looking at our finances and making adjustments, but it can be a really, a very high anxiety time for a lot of people and not just women. Um, and they really need some help with this.
Absolutely. I've seen these, because besides the regular emotions that you have when you make your everyday financial decisions during a divorce, or even if you've been widowed or whatever, there's a lot of pressure and deadlines and things like that that you don't normally have. And I think that contributes to the whole, let's just get it done, let's get it over with, we got to do something, I've got to act
Right.
kind of mentality. And I've seen people, it's funny, you watch some of these programs like these reality shows where these women are talking about their horrible divorces and this, that, and the other. And you're like, how did these really wealthy women get themselves backed into a corner and decide that this was a good idea? You're like,
Right.
how, how does that happen? I mean, I know you've got lots of horror stories, but how
Oh,
does that
yes.
happen? Tell us about the financial dignity. Tell us some horror stories that you've experienced or seen with your clients that illustrate that idea of not having your dignity.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, something that a lot of financial professionals might not know is that financial abuse and financial control go hand in hand with emotional and physical abuse. So when someone is in any type of abusive relationship, there's a very high correlation of financial control and financial abuse. And usually women are the recipients more often of that than men. Um, the other thing that I've seen is women whose spouses have said, you know, money is hard for you. You're not good with numbers. Don't worry about it. Just let me handle it. And here's the thing, even if someone is not great at math, the good news is technology will take care of most of it. However, even if your spouse or partner is the one taking care of a lot of the day to day, week to week details, it's really important for both husband and wife, both partners, to be engaged and to know what's going on, because you just never know when something like this is going to happen. Like you said, death of a spouse, or a divorce, then all of a sudden you have to deal with all these financial details that you haven't looked at for the past 10, 15, or 20 years. And that can be really scary.
That's a big mistake to let somebody control all of those things though for you. I mean, even if they have the best intentions, and I've known
Yeah.
some, they can be a lot of times during that kind of situation during a divorce, people are using money against one another. They're using it as a club. But occasionally I
Yes.
run across people who have really reasonable spouses and they're like, oh, I want this to be nice, I want this to be pleasant, let me
Right.
help you. And that's not
Yeah.
a good idea either.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, I'm the money person in my marriage. Not that my husband's not capable. He's happy that I take care of the bill paying, but we have regular conversations about what's going on. And he knows where to find all the information if something happens to me, which I think is really, really important. Because I have been that person, with widows and widowers in divorcees, where it's like they don't even know where to find the information. And so you're dealing with this really high stress situation, like a death or divorce or an illness of your spouse. And then we've got this financial stress slash emergency on top of the original crisis, right? So it compounds it and it makes it even more stressful for someone.
So what is your definition then of financial dignity, and what are kind of some steps people can go through to get to that place where they want it?
Yeah. Well, to me, financial dignity is when you wake up in the morning and you feel really good about where you are with your money. Now, this doesn't mean you've won the lottery, but this means you have a plan, you're working your plan, you're seeing progress, you're being purposeful with your money. So I would say the very first step is awareness and mindfulness relative to your finances. So if you're somebody that's not engaged with what's going on in the personal finances and your spouse or partner is handling it 100%, that's going to be the first step, is telling them like, hey, I'm not questioning you, right? I'm not saying you're doing the wrong thing, but I'm saying I want to be more educated and I want to be more involved in this. I think that's really important. The other thing is tracking. What gets measured gets improved. So if you're not tracking your spending, if you're not tracking your debt levels, your net worth, etc., then most likely things aren't improving, right? So when we start to measure something, that's when we usually start seeing improvements. There are so many great personal finance apps out there. Many of them are free. Personally, I use mint.com and I use it with my clients. It's got a lot of really powerful capabilities and it does a lot of the work for you. So it connects with all your accounts so you don't have to do a lot of data entry, which is great. It's not like back in the good old days where you had to be keeping track of everything in a checkbook register or on ledger paper. A lot of that work has been taken out of the equation because of technology, which is great. So we've got a lot of tools out there. um, so having those conversations with your spouse, tracking the things you want to improve, and I think also acknowledging the fact that you have a relationship with money. And a lot of people have never thought about it that way, but it's almost like the same thing as you have a relationship with food. You interact, you eat food every day. We know that we eat emotionally sometimes, right? And there's certain foods that remind us of our grandmother and bring us comfort and different things like that. And, it's the same thing with our personal finances. We have emotional hot buttons around different parts of our personal finances. And so just acknowledging that we have a relationship with money and proactively working to improve it, that's going to go a long way towards getting you to a place of financial dignity.
Perfect. And you mentioned financial advisors earlier. I'm curious, for the financial advisors that are watching this, what do they need to be doing when their client comes to them and says, I hate to tell you this, Bob, but Joe and I are getting divorced, and we're going to be going our separate ways. They may even be deciding, fighting over the financial advisor.
Yes,
You know. So
we've seen that.
so what do you tell advisors to do? What do they need to do first to get their clients to a place that's better with their money?
Yeah, well, and hopefully this isn't the first time that they've been really sitting down and going through their numbers, because that financial advisor can do a lot to reassure that person that, like, hey, based off of what you've got, your assets, etc., you know, you're going to be okay. And if this person needs extra help with figuring out how to do a budget, etc., I highly recommend that they just pass along a copy of my book, Financial Dignity After Divorce, because this is going to cover a lot of the nitty gritty stuff that financial advisors honestly don't have time to help their clients with. They don't want to help them set up a budget or help them figure out the best way to pay off their debt, etc. And this book walks them through all of those practical steps, but it also helps them to examine their relationship with money and gives them very practical steps on how to heal it. So, even if the financial advisor wants to like read the book and say like, "Oh gosh, okay, now I can see some of these issues that my clients might be facing," maybe I can talk them through, if they're just dealing with one or two of these things, but if I'm starting to see, wow, there's a lot of different things going on here, a real easy solution would be to, gift their client a copy of my book. And that way they can work through that on their own time and just come back to the advisor with targeted questions.
Absolutely. I think that's a really great advice because a lot of guys just don't know how to at what point they're getting into sensitive territory, personal things. They want
Yeah.
to, there's such an integration between money and how you were raised and the dynamic in the family, and even your children play into this a lot. How do kids affect this whole financial dignity thing? I was just,
Oh wow. I mean, there really is a lot, it can be a really complex thing because, sometimes parents will feel like they need to make up for the emotional pain that their kids are going through with money, right? They'll spend extra on their kids, really spending money that they don't have or that they should be investing or paying down debt with because they're trying to make up for this deficit. Like, oh my gosh, we've caused our kids pain by dragging them through this divorce, and so then they try to make up for it with money. And I
buying
always
Junior a Porsche to
yeah,
make
and
them
so
feel
it's
better.
like, I always tell parents that children want your presence, not your presents, not your gifts. They want your time and attention and your love more than they want your money and the things that money will buy. And so I think that's really important for parents to remember that, and you're also teaching your kids by example. You can tell them to save money and to not have credit card debt, etc. But what you actually do is the thing that affects them the most. So if you're going to be
Absolutely.
saying those things, you got to walk the talk.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say my daughter learned everything not to do from me.
Oh
She's
no.
already got it. She's already got it. We don't have a lot of time, unfortunately, because I could talk to Christine all day. She is the best with dealing with this. And so, real quickly, if you had to sum this book up as far as what's the one big lesson that people are going to take away after they read Financial Dignity After Divorce?
Well, I think it does come down to the fact that we have a relationship with money. And even though you and your ex have parted ways, you and money are going to be together forever. We're interacting with our money pretty much every day. We're spending money, we're earning money, we're managing our money. And if we don't invest in the strategies and in the mindsets and in the practical things that we need to do with our personal finances, then it's going to be a struggle that plagues us for the rest of our lives. So it's really something that we have to get right.
I'm plugging it now. This is how you can buy it, but you can also go where
Yes, it's
tell
on Amazon, and I'm actually working on the audiobook right now. So that should be
is it
available probably within the next month or two.
is that going to be narrated by Kim Kardashian or something?
It
You're
is
gonna,
not. It's going to be narrated by the woman who narrated my first book, Money is Emotional.
okay,
So we're going to have some good continuity there, and she does a wonderful job. So it's going to be
perfect,
great. I
perfect.
can't wait.
So I would suggest that anybody get a copy of this book because I've really enjoyed Christine's other books and her articles. You can find her all over the internet, and you can find her at do you own ChristineLuken.com now? You own
Absolutely.
Okay, so Christine Luken, Luken.com. And also you'll see her all over. She's on. Oh my gosh, she's on. Well, see, this is what happens in live radio. My dog got all excited about your book. He
Well, and
saw
here I
that.
thought it was my kittens that were going to be disturbing us, but I was
Yeah,
wrong.
that's okay. This is what happens when you do stuff at home, right?
Hey,
Rather than working
we're
in an
animal
office.
lovers here, so
Are we? Well, I have a Yorkie that thinks that the mail is his like chosen profession. Making sure that we understand that the mailman has arrived. So the mailman has arrived, and we unfortunately we don't have a lot of time with Christine today, but I want people to go and check out ChristineLuken.com. Look at this book, and if you're a financial advisor, um, you might even talk to, if somebody wants to order a huge quantity of these, they should reach out to you on the contact form, right? If they want to order,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah, as
Yeah.
giveaways. That would be such an excellent. Just think how your clients would look at you if instead of just going, oh, I'm sorry you're going through a divorce, you said, listen, maybe this will help you get through
Yeah.
this time, and give them a copy of this book. And you're really going to create a lot of goodwill. That's part of what being a financial advisor is about. And those of you who are going through this emotional time, don't lose hope. I think the best thing that Christine Luken offers, I think, is people that there's a light at the end of this very, very dark tunnel. There is hope. There is a way for you to take this situation and turn it into a much, much better, be in a better place than you ever were. And I'm sure your clients tell you that a lot too. They feel like once they got through it, now they're better. They see things more clearly, and their relationship with money has really improved.
Absolutely.
Money's the good boyfriend now, right?
Yes.
Instead of money's the good boyfriend instead of the suspect boyfriend. So anyway, thanks
Absolutely.
for being on, Christine. We will definitely talk later about how we're going to promote this more to people, because I think the message definitely needs to get out there. And I've just enjoyed working with you over the years. I admire the work that you are doing, bringing financial dignity back to women and to men. Men love her too. Okay. Okay. It's like that old the Irish Spring commercial. It was like, made for man, but but the women love it too. Well, this is the
Yeah.
opposite. Christine focuses on women, but the guys appreciate what she does as well, because men have feelings too, as
Yeah.
much as we don't like to admit it. But anyway, thank you for being on the show today, Christine. Where else would would you like people to go visit you? Just on your
Um,
website or?
yeah, absolutely. Just come to ChristineLuken.com. If you can't remember that, you can go to
Yeah.
financialdignityafterddivorce.com. That'll take you right to the book
She's
page
got a lot of
of our
videos
website.
too, tons of videos all over the place. She's
Yes.
bad. She's nationwide. So my guest today again, Christine Luken, Financial Dignity After Divorce, a woman's guide to healing their relationship with money. Really great, highly recommended stuff. Thank you, Christine, and we will definitely talk again.
Okay, sounds
Takes,
great, Tammy.
takes a lot. Thanks.
Bye-bye.